Welcome back to Synergy Bonus. Bunch of friends that like to sit around and talk about games and drink a lot. What are we drinking, Spoon?
We are drinking from our local winery, Noble Winery, Rock Candy. It is a red wine that tastes like candy. Not even gonna.
I wouldn't say rock candy. It's very grapey. It's definitely Concord based. Hints of Niagara.
That's good.
Before we get, look at the legs on it. Okay, I'm done. I'm not that pretentious. My palate is not that developed. You may have noticed tonight we've got Nick sitting in for Thrick. TZ couldn't be with us, and Nick could. King of the crazy hair. And tonight we're actually going to talk about a game Nick's very fond of. Batman Arkham Asylum, 2009, from developed by Rocksteady Games, and I'm on the wrong page of notes here. Published by Eidos Entertainment and Warner Brothers Interactive.
Eidos.
Right. It is Eidos.
I did not realize Eidos did that.
Eidos did that. And it was the game that really put Rocksteady on the map. Script written largely by Paul Dini of the animated series fame and Batman Detective Comics, the guy who was responsible for The Long Halloween, I believe. It was originally released on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, as well as Microsoft Windows through Steam and so on. It's been re-released on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, so there's no excuse not to play this game.
Except if you hate Over the Shoulder.
Take it away, Spoon.
I hate Over the Shoulder. I didn't play very much of it. Passing it on to Nick. Nick, tell us about this game that I just missed out on because I just felt like I was craning my neck when I started to play it.
You don't have to be involved in any of the Batman canon to know what's going on. It's largely set in its own universe. It's in its Arkham universe. Basically, it's a story of
Batman.
Batman.
It has a lot of references, particularly in Mark Hamill's lines as the Joker, to the Batman animated series. So while it is a self-contained universe, there's a ton of Easter eggs if you are Batman.
Well, of course. I mean, because it's Mark Hamill. Yes. But essentially, it's Batman who is taking the Joker back to Arkham Asylum for like the umpteenth millionth time. And something goes awry, and Joker has taken over the asylum and freed all of the inmates so that Batman can go through a crazy jaunt through the entire place to stop Joker's machinations of whatever it is that he's planning. For starters, I've always been a Batman fan from when I was a little kid, so for me, seeing this actually in gameplay, controlling everything, it looks and feels like you are the Batman. The game, like I was saying before, the gameplay, the controls in which you do the combat, the free flow system, it's just, I haven't seen anything like it. When it first came out, I was yes, lack of a better term, stunned. I can see why it was Game of the Year for that year. Also won a ton of different awards at gaming ceremonies and such. Once I started playing, I couldn't stop. I actually replayed it over and over again just to make sure that I had every single nuance and every single Easter egg that I could find.
And all the little Arkham stones and every single Joker riddle and every single one of the recordings with the psychologists and so on.
Yeah.
Tons of hidden items. The game was very much intended to be... the designer said they took inspiration from The Legend of Zelda and Metroid, and they wanted to take everything that kind of worked and fit with the Batman mythos and then just hyper-exaggerate it and then throw out all the stuff that didn't really work with the Batman mythos. On the note of the combat, it is sort of groundbreaking. They went out of their way when they were designing this to do an entirely different combat system that felt very uniquely Batman-inspired. Originally, it was a rhythm game, kind of drawn off the whole... Guitar Hero was very big at the time, and Rock Band was making a splash on the scene at the time. And they were kind of going for something like that, complete with the colorful circles on screen. Mostly that got scrapped by the final design, but you can still see the flow of the way Batman moves is very inspired by this. And if you can keep time with the combat music, you'll almost never take a hit.
That was also something that was drawn from the Mother series, particularly Mother 3, where you could rack up your combo points based on the battle music there.
And perfected in Undertale.
So, but tell us a little bit more. You touched on the combat.
The story, I mean, of course you've seen in other stories where Batman has to run the gamut of going against a bunch of his arch foes. Like, you've seen it in early comic form, you've seen it in the animated series. This one, because of the graphics in it, it looks so much more real, more lush, more detailed. It was and that's kind of what helped draw you in.
It was immersive, essentially.
It's very immersive. It's visually very beautiful. This game was put together in the Unreal Engine 3. And it was it started as a team of 40 people, and by the end of the 21 months in which it took them to create and build this game, it expanded to 60 people. And it was just very impressive. And we had an all-star cast of voice actors, including Mark Hamill as the Joker, and Harley Quinn's original voice actor,
Arlene Sorkin,
and I believe Batman's
Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy came back, and it was phenomenal. It appealed to my inner 12-year-old.
Yes,
on so many levels.
Oh yeah,
there was a lot of love put into the design of this game.
Yeah.
What I honestly liked about Arkham Asylum, as well as the other Arkham games, was it was more very expansive. It just got even more expansive in the later installments. But with Arkham Asylum in particular, while it was expansive in where you could go, it also had this very claustrophobic feel to it when you were inside the asylum, when you were tracking down the clues and also the villains to get where you needed to go. Because
that whole isolated feeling.
And that was intentional on the part of the designers, because as they were going into this as an introductory game, they wanted you to feel isolated and cut off. And that's why they selected Arkham Asylum. Because if you were out in the city at large, then you could go back to the Batcave to regroup. You could call on the Bat family, Nightwing and Oracle, and Robin and whoever happens to be Batgirl at the moment.
And for the most part, Batman is completely on his own. He doesn't have really any help from very many people, except for maybe Alfred through his little headset. But what they also put into the game was that there was a remote Batcave site on the island, which
seemed a little forced.
It was a little bit forced, but at the same time, if you're thinking about Batman, it's like, why wouldn't he have something close by to monitor all of the inmates of Arkham Asylum to make sure that they were on the up and up? I mean, he's Batman. He has a contingency plan for everything. So it may have been a little bit forced, but it definitely wouldn't have not fallen within Batman's parameter to incorporate something like that.
Real quick, tell us about the music.
The music, for the most part, I
don't remember it.
I don't really remember the music, to be honest.
They aren't trying. It's very dark, it's very brooding, it's very atmospheric and thematic. It's nothing that you're going to be humming 3 years later,
exactly,
or 30 years later, like the Super Mario Brothers theme.
Right.
But
it fits the atmosphere.
It fits, it works. You can hear a little bit playing right now in the background.
It was very orchestral.
There's actually a remix.
Very brooding.
Yeah, there's a remix of the animated series theme in there, actually.
Was that at the beginning, like the title sequence? I think?
Yeah, and the closing credits as well. And that's where there is music. There's a lot of spaces where there isn't, because it heightens the creepiness. Remember when you're down in Killer Croc's lair, it's dead silent unless he's jumping up and lunging out of the water at you.
There is hardly any music in the game unless it's one, a cinematic, two, it fits the specific set feeling that you're in. If you're in detective mode and you're up at the top of the scaffolding and you're trying to secretly take out all of the enemies without alerting the other's attention to what you're doing, they do have some heightened tension music they have playing in there, which will only increase as you increasingly pick off all of the guards, because then it seems like it's more impending of their doom.
Detective mode was something I had a mild issue with, because it was really trying hard to be Assassin's Creed with the eagle vision that everything has done since, be Red Dead Redemption with the dead eye, or any other game that has that. And it didn't feel necessary for Batman.
I didn't play Assassin's Creed until after the fact. So I didn't know anything about the eagle vision or anything like that. So my first experience with something like that was Arkham Asylum. So for me, going into that, I wouldn't have known that it was played off of something else. It just came naturally to me, that's all.
Like I said, I didn't play this. I played very little of it. Mainly because, again, I've mentioned this time and time again, third person over the shoulder, and if it's super over the shoulder here, I feel like I'm craning my neck to try to see what's over here. A lot of people said, well, when you get into combat and stuff like that, the camera kind of pans out and rotates around. I get that. But if I'm walking around, just again...
But only when you're walking. If you were running, the camera swung behind him, and if you were doing the glide with the cape, the camera was dead center right behind him. So
it's almost like you kind of need to see what's around you. Just fucking do it the whole game! But you gotta see the detail. Fuck yourself. Sorry. Tirade, moving on.
I mean, they did a lot of great work on Batman's model. He looks fantastic. And they put even more detail in. Like when as you're going through the game, the more hits you take, the more tattered and beat up and awful his costume looks. It's utterly fantastic. But again, all that detail is right there. I could see just as much from straight behind him, if not sometimes more, than when he's kind of off to my left a little bit. Now it's not as egregious as it is in some other games that came out around the time frame. He's still fairly well centered throughout, but it's just off enough to be.
See, I was actually gifted a copy of Arkham Knight. I'm like, you know what? I'll put this in and I'll see. Like, he was further fucking over. I'm like, we're never touching this again.
You can tell which game you're watching in the series by how far to the left Bruce is standing.
Real quick though, I did mention that the camera does pan out during combat and stuff.
Cameras all over the place in the first one.
How are the controls? How is combat? How just interacting with things? Is it fluid or is it tricky? Again, this game won awards, so I'm assuming that it's
fluid.
It's very, very fluid. If you're playing Arkham Asylum from the very get-go, and then you go over to Arkham City, they changed the controls just a little bit. Because the combat...
So that you had to relearn how to play.
Right. And then going back to Arkham Asylum after you've been playing Arkham City is kind of like...
You realize that the controls were better the first time and they fucked it up.
But they also added more stuff in later installments.
Well, let me ask you this. Was there any quality of life improvements that were put in the other series that you wish were in this one? I know we normally wouldn't talk about this, but I'm just kind of curious.
Okay.
Because I know you've played the other ones, but... Was there any quality of life improvement that you wish that the other games had, or that this game had from the other game?
It seemed, well...
Or did they do it right the first time?
They really did do it right the first time.
They really did it right the first time, and all the tweaks that they put in subsequent games just detracted from the original one.
I mean, I'm all about the story when it comes down to it. If you tell me a good story and it plays really well, then I'm all for it. When they went to Arkham City, it was just the next chapter. And so it expanded more on, the rogues you have to go up against, expanded on the regular story of Arkham City, or
I didn't
the
care
Arkham
for
universe.
that whole wall around a part of the city because of Hugo Strange, though.
Well, yeah, but Hugo Strange is also a villain in his own right.
I'm aware of that, but... like the wall around the city there, just like Arkham being an island made sense. Throwing up a wall like you're Donald Trump is not like
right, and partitioning off part of Gotham City. I mean, there were spots where I came to the wall, and it was just like I kind of want to go over.
Yeah, I understand the edge of the map, and I'd rather have a real wall than an invisible wall.
Right, but I was kind of like, I wonder what the rest of Gotham is like on the other side. Which then in Arkham Knight, they're just like, okay, here's
everything.
Here's the old answer.
I was going to actually mention something about that. Yes, all right. You were talking about story and whatnot. This game, if I'm not mistaken, if it's this one, Joker's the final boss, correct?
Yes.
And
it was originally supposed to be Mark Hamill's final outing as the Joker. But
he is roided out, correct?
Yes.
Special batch of Joker venom, yes.
The thing is, I kind of heard that this was one of the lamest parts of the game. Like, literally, I heard that
it's pretty weak as a final boss battle.
As a final boss,
the whole thing was just kind of
like the set up. Like, you had no idea what Joker was going to do. Yeah. And the only allusions to it was...
And the fact that he ODs on Bane's venom laced with his own Joker chemicals is...
Right. And
so, basically, the end was just the weakest point of the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
There
Unfortunately.
were much better boss fights earlier on.
Oh, yeah. Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just that whole greenhouse level. Actually.
Right.
That could be a stage select right
And I mean, like what you were saying earlier with Killer Croc, while not necessarily a boss battle, like you don't go duke it out with him,
Yeah.
but it's more or less a stage of survival where you have to be extremely quiet and cautious to get through the rest of the level before he mauls you to death.
The fight with Bane, where you're stuck in that little gladiatorial stadium almost in the boiler room, and all of your usual tricks, there's nothing to get up out of his way. You have to literally have good reflexes to deal with him.
Also, the Scarecrow stage is what? Well, the
Scarecrow stage,
battle.
I wouldn't even
It was a
necessarily
new
call it
take
a battle.
No, but it was like it really wasn't even a survival stage. Really, it was more of like a callback to like the platform games.
It's definitely a platforming stealth stage.
Yes.
And
To avoid
the
his
idea
hits.
with the needles on his fingers and all that.
Injecting all of that into you, and
just
like
giving an idea of what that venom is doing in your mind, and that whole Scarecrow sequence. Venom is not right. It's his fear formula.
like the whole hallucination sequence that Batman has, like reliving his dead parents, seeing them on the morgue of Arkham Asylum.
And I've got a thing with needles, so like the needle
Gotcha.
fingers would had me like cringing every time he was on the screen. I do like the fear toxin as being more of an aerosolized thing because it feels more versatile with the fear gas. But just that whole thing where he comes up behind Bruce and
he's just injecting directly into your bloodstream.
Now, was this a long game or was it a short game?
Because
I know.
Well, in comparison to the other installments, it's a pretty short game.
I was gonna say
speedrunners have beat this in about 8 hours.
Because I was gonna say
completionists may put 20 hours into this.
I was gonna say because around actually this time frame was when we started to notice that single player games, the campaign, because everything had different multiplayer, just was only a few hours. So
except this, which is good because I'd really hate to have like multiple Batman.
but hearing that it's at least 8 hours, I mean it's something at least. Now, was this a complete game or was it plagued by those 3 little letters DLC?
Complete game. I don't think there was any DLC.
No. The only thing, if you wanted to shoot for it, was it would give you the extra bonus stages that you wanted to do, like a speed run through specific, like detective mode in this area and this area. You did unlock one skin in the game, which was the armored bat suit, but they did
never ever used.
But they did offer others if you did get the full expansion pack.
I guess there was, but it was all cosmetic.
Yeah, there was.
It was the complete experience.
Yes.
It wasn't like subsequent games where here's Batman. Oh, you got to pay for another full game if you want the Nightwing chapters and the Catwoman chapters. And by the way, they're relevant to the story.
Yep. Well, the Harley Quinn story wasn't really irrelevant.
No, I said
at the very end of Arkham City.
Yeah,
but that was later on.
Yeah. But like, you don't know what's going on because you just skipped 3 chapters because you haven't bought the DLC yet. That was Arkham City in a nutshell.
That's gay.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was the beginning of the end for this DLC bullshit. But no, this one didn't have it. This was a complete game in its own right.
Well,
have we sold you on it? Are you going to revisit it?
I'm probably not going to revisit it. Unfortunately, I would rather not have a sore neck than, I'm sorry. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I've seen people, oh yes, you'll get used to it. Okay, but until I get used to it, I'm going to be like, what the fuck? Let me see what's over there. I don't care if it's a fucking wall. Show me the wall. It's going to be his
not
great
a wall.
wall.
It's a lunatic with a baseball bat.
Yep, that's usually what it is,
Well, but also, if you're out in the open where that lunatic is going to see you, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're the Batman. You're supposed to be in the shadows. You are the shadow that stalks in the night. Wait, wrong guy.
The terror that flaps in the night.
Yes, the terror that flaps in the night.
What would you give us? What would you personally give this? I can't give it anything because I'm not gonna play it. Unfortunately, go play it. Like, if you can tolerate over-the-shoulder stuff, go play it. Like, I'm gonna tell you that.
I'd give it 9 out of 10.
If you're just a Batman fan, we usually do a scale out of 5 here, but 9 out of 10 is good. If we're
9 out of 10 would be probably 4.5 out of 5. I would say.
If we're gonna stick with the 10 thing, I'm gonna go 9.5 out of 10. This is a phenomenal game. This is absolutely worth your time to go play. If you're a Batman fan, if you're a stealth game kind of fan, if you're an action game fan. If you're a rhythm game fan for that fighting system, it's all worth it. It's very well put together. It's very well done. The weakest part of the whole game is the final boss fight, and it's still a pretty solid fight.
Real quick, this game came out in 2009?
Yep.
Yes.
Have you revisited it any time recently?
Recently, no.
Within last year or two, maybe?
Unfortunately, no. Because that was on the PS3. I upgraded to the PS4.
And there's no backwards capabilities.
But they do offer a Return to Arkham series for PS4 where it's Arkham Asylum and Arkham City with the new Unreal Engine that was introduced for Arkham Knight. So they went back and tweaked a little bit of the graphics, but made it available for PS4.
Basically, what I was going to say is...
I didn't actually play it the first time until like 2014 because I didn't get an Xbox until 2013, so...
Yeah.
I played it more recently, but...
I was going to say, like, does it still hold up? Like, from when it came out to now?
Well, after...
Probably not because we moved on to Unreal 4.
Well, when I played Arkham Asylum the first time, and then I saw that Arkham City was coming out, I was really stoked, and when I played through Arkham City, afterwards I kind of went back and redid Arkham Asylum just to see, and I could notice a difference. There's definitely a sizable difference, but
for the most part, it has aged well. That's what it basically
very
saying.
well.
Well, that's good. It makes me happy when games do that. Like, it really does. But, I think with that, have a good night, good gaming, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed what you saw.
Let us know. Give us a like and a comment down below.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to make sure you get all notifications from us.
As always,
Good night.
and good gaming.